There is a specific type of person who receives a Friday night text and feels a sudden, quiet wave of relief when they realize they have absolutely no obligation to answer it, while the rest of the world is frantically grooming themselves, chasing the next hit of social validation, and terrified of a night spent in silence. This person is closing the door. Society has many names for this. They call them lonely. They call them antisocial. They suggest they are one bad day away from a villain origin story. But the Grandmaster knows them by a different name, the ghost. Most people are fundamentally terrified of being alone because, without a crowd to mirror them, they have no idea who they are. They are like broken pieces of a machine, desperately searching for a matching brick just to feel functional. They use noise to drown out the voice in their head. But you aren't looking for a match, because you've realized you are the entire machine. Today, we are moving beyond simple social engineering. We are entering the most guarded protocol in the Rise Theory archive, strategic isolation. I'm going to show you why disappearing isn't a social failure, it's the ultimate power move. We are going to deconstruct the neurobiology of the loner, the architecture of the forge, and the dark reality of strategic scarcity. Welcome back to Rise Theory. If you are here, you are already tired of the noise. Let's begin. The neurobiology. To understand the power of the ghost, we must first look at the hardware. For decades, psychologists lumped everyone who enjoyed solitude into a single, concerning category. But in 2016, researchers at the University of Buffalo discovered something that flipped the narrative. They identified a trait called unsociability. Unlike antisocial behavior, which is rooted in hostility, or avoidant behavior, which is rooted in fear, unsociability is a calm, confident preference for one's own company. When they studied these people, they found that they weren't damaged. In fact, they were thriving. The secret lies in the dopamine system. Most people are dopamine junkies. Their brains require a massive external stimulus, the laughs of a crowd, the energy of a party, the constant pings of a group chat, just to reach a baseline of happiness. They need the whole jalapeno of social interaction just to feel a spark. The ghost, however, has a more sensitive neural system. You reach optimal stimulation from a single flake of red pepper, a complex thought, a long-term strategy, a walk in the 2 a.m. silence. While the world is leaking mental energy in pursuit of more, your brain is throwing a private party of introspection and mental processing. Studies show that during these periods of solitude, the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, shows heightened activity. You aren't just sitting there. You are simulating futures. You are calculating moves. You are building in a lab while everyone else is dancing in the street. The forge. The amateur thinks being alone is a wound that needs to be healed. The architect knows it's a forge where power is tempered. Think about the history of human progress. It wasn't written by committees. It was written by people who knew how to disappear. Albert Einstein didn't find the theory of relativity in a brainstorming session at a coffee shop. Isaac Newton didn't discover the laws of motion while networking. They found them in the vacuum. Virginia Woolf called it a room of one's own. Maya Angelou would rent a hotel room just to be away from the comforts of her own home. Not because she hated people, but because she respected her work enough to protect it from the noise of people. When you are alone, you are not incomplete. You are a whole set already. We've built this Western narrative that humans are like Lego pieces, searching for their other half. But people who thrive in solitude have looked at that narrative and laughed. They realized that the quality of your alone time directly impacts the quality of your social time. If you cannot sit in a room for 30 minutes with your own thoughts, you are a slave to whatever distraction comes your way. But if you can master the silence, you become an anchor. When you finally enter a room, you aren't depleted. You aren't looking for someone else to fix your emptiness or validate your existence. You bring your whole self to the table because you've already spent time at your own table first. Strategic scarcity. Now let's talk about the application of power. In our previous protocols, we discussed the invisible threads and social engineering, but those tools are useless if you don't have the scarcity to back them up. Here is the dark truth. Availability is cheap. If you are always the one to answer the text in 3 seconds, if you are always present at every happy hour, if you are always available for a quick chat, you have zero gravity. You are a commodity. And in the world of high status, commodities are used and discarded. The ghost understands the law of the void. When you disappear, when you lean into your healthy unsociability, you create a psychological vacuum. People begin to wonder, where is he? What is he doing? Why doesn't he need us? By the time you reappear, you aren't bringing social fatigue. You are bringing a version of yourself that is mystery shrouded and centered. You create a return value. Because you haven't been leaking your personality to everyone for the last 7 days, your words carry 10 times the weight when you finally speak. Abraham Maslow talked about this in his research on self-actualized people. He found they had a quality of detachment. They could be among people, but they were never owned by them. They were running toward themselves, not away from the world. This is the difference between a shield and a sword. If you use solitude to hide from rejection, it's a shield. But if you use it to sharpen your mind and build your empire, it is the sharpest sword in existence. The Hitori effect. In the West, we treat eating alone like a confession at a support group. Oh, you're alone? Is everything okay? It's a projection of their own fear. But in Japan, there is a concept called Hitori, alone time. It isn't just accepted, it is celebrated. They have solo karaoke booths, movie theaters with single-seat partitions, and restaurants designed so you never have to make eye contact with another human. They realize that a society of people who can't be alone is a society of people who are easily easily manipulated. When you need the group to feel okay, you will do whatever the group says. You will pull whatever thread they tell you to pull. You will be a pawn. But the person who can enjoy a meal alone, who can travel alone, who can sit in the dark and plan alone, that person is unhackable. You cannot threaten them with exile because they've already exiled themselves and found it to be a kingdom. Ask yourself, do you choose solitude or are you hiding in it? Healthy solitude comes from a place of abundance. You know you can connect, but you choose not to, because the conversation you are having with your own vision is more interesting than the gossip happening at the party. The outro. The world is getting louder. The notifications are constant. The expectation of being always on is a new form of modern slavery. In this age of desperate connectivity, the ability to genuinely enjoy your own company is the most countercultural act of rebellion you can perform. You aren't weird. You aren't broken. Your brain is literally wired to find restoration in the shadows. And that is not just okay. It is your greatest competitive advantage. The world needs people who can sit with themselves. The world needs people who know the difference between connection and codependency. You have the protocols. You have the hardware. Now, you need the courage to close the door. If you've ever felt like society was trying to fix your need for solitude, consider this your official permission slip to lean into the dark. If you are ready to stop being a pawn and start building your own empire in the silence, I want you to comment "The Ghost" below. I am watching the comments for the architects who have mastered the art of being whole. Subscribe to Rise Theory or stay predictable. The choice, as always, is yours. We're done here.